The international ministerial meeting on Syria kicks off in Riyadh. Israel sends a senior delegation to Doha for ceasefire and detainee talks. And the Israeli military demolishes homes in southern Lebanon, violating the November ceasefire agreement. Hello there, it's 4 o'clock Cairo local time and you're watching Qnews, and we begin today's bulletin with the latest developments in Syria. An international ministerial meeting on Syria has commenced in Riyadh, focusing on humanitarian aid, economic support, energy solutions, reconstruction, and Syria's political future. The summit comes as Syria faces urgent challenges linked to Western sanctions, political instability, and a need for an inclusive political process. Officials are focusing on preserving the country's unity and sovereignty, while prioritizing security and addressing the needs of the Syrian people. The outcomes are expected to shape Syria's path to recovery. The Egyptian Foreign Minister, Badr Abdul Ati, is attending the international ministerial meeting on Syria, which is being held, of course, in Riyadh. In his remarks, Abdulati stressed the importance of Syria's unity, sovereignty, and the pursuit of inclusive political solutions in line with UN Resolution 2254. He condemned Israeli incursions into Syrian territory, urging respect for the 1974 disengagement agreement and an immediate halt to Israeli strikes on Syrian military infrastructure. Abdulati also highlighted the need for stability and stronger international cooperation in combating terrorism. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has unveiled an additional €50 million aid package for Syria. The package will prioritize food assistance, emergency shelter, and medical care for those in need. Baerbock also emphasized the importance of implementing smart sanctions designed to support the Syrian people while maintaining pressure on the regime. The move underscores Germany's commitment to addressing Syria's humanitarian crisis.
For the Syrian population. Syrians now need a quick dividend from the transition of power. And we continue to help those in Syria.
European Union foreign ministers are set to meet in Brussels at the end of the month to deliberate on the potential lifting of sanctions on Syria. Speaking en route to the Riyadh talks on Syria, the EU foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, said that the bloc is working to reach decisions regarding sanctions, signaling a possible shift in policy aimed at supporting Syria's recovery.
So it has to include all those groups. We also want to see no radicalization. We want to see inclusiveness of women also.
Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan has emphasized the importance of respecting Syria's sovereignty and independence. Speaking at the conclusion of the expanded ministerial meeting on Syria, Prince Faisal stressed the need for sustained humanitarian aid and economic aid, and warned that ongoing sanctions hinder the Syrian people's aspirations and called for their removal. He also urged the protection of Syria's resources as a critical step toward achieving stability and recovery. Arab leaders gathering in Riyadh to shape Syria's post-Assad era as Lebanon and Syria advance collaboration on border security, refugees and financial challenges.
A high-profile summit in Riyadh is bringing regional leaders together to discuss Syria's future, focusing on security, humanitarian aid, and political stability. The primary objective is to coordinate efforts for Syria's transition and reconstruction in a post-Assad era. This comes on the heels of a landmark visit by Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati to Damascus, the first by Lebanese Prime Minister in 15 years. During his meeting with Syria's military operations chief Ahmed Shara, discussion centered on enhancing bilateral ties, particularly through border demarcation and increased security cooperation to curb illegal smuggling. Both sides agreed to establish committees to address these challenges and emphasized the urgent need to facilitate the return of Syrian refugees from Lebanon. They also explored solutions for Syrian deposits frozen in Lebanese banks amid Lebanon's ongoing financial crisis. In parallel, Syria's new authorities announced the successful disruption of a Daesh plot to bomb Al Sayyida Zainab shrine near Damascus. Security forces arrested cell members involved in the plan, showcasing the government's commitment to protecting religious minorities and ensuring national security. These developments underscore a collective determination among Arab leaders to stabilize Syria and foster a smooth political transition, paving the way for regional stability and cooperation.
Now, for more on this, we cross over to our newsroom where Selma is waiting for us. Selma.
And thank you, Mark. And for further analysis on the current situation in Syria, we're joined from Latakia by the writer and political analyst, Dr. Qusay Abito. Welcome, Dr. Abito, to Qnews. And let's start off and ask you, what are the key goals and outcomes expected from the international ministerial meeting in Riyadh today about Syria?
Good afternoon to you and to your viewers. In the outset, any meetings or an event focus on the interest of Syria is welcomed. Therefore, Syria is in need to open for everyone and make relations with all the countries, particularly the neighboring countries. Syria is in need of the help and the assistance of the Arab and European countries. Syria is suffering from a bittering economic crisis and instability, and the annexation of the Syria's territories in the southern and the north and the east of Syria heading to Turkey. All these files are present on the table, and I think that all the Arab giant countries is pursuing in the unity and integrity of Syria and its return to the political backup. And the issue, that's what's happening inside Syria, that noted by several countries such as France, Germany and Egypt, and highlighted also by the Gulf countries directly. What's happening in the meeting right now is just to provide Syria an assistance to raise politically and economically. And I think it is most importantly is the economic for discipline. The internal affairs in Syria, there is an economic crisis. The Syrian people are suffering such as cutting the wages and the release of the employees. And
sir, well can I ask you, please, if you can share with us what you think is, in your opinion, the steps that are being proposed to ensure maybe Syria's unity, sovereignty, and security for the long term, in your opinion?
I think what's happening is just talks that require to be translated in the ground. We wish from those who are asking from the United States to get out from the Syrian territories, as well as Syria and Turkey. These countries, if they enter the legitimate in Syria and requires us to be moved. And from a demand from the Arab countries and Egypt's voice was taking the lead in order to actually pursue the unity of the Syrian territories and not to allow any attempt of division. And I think that the first step should start now.
And what do you think are the, if you can maybe also elaborate on the importance of the inclusive political process emphasized at the meeting, and especially in terms of the UN Resolution 2254, please?
To implement this said resolution 2254 that requires several phases, which is the most importantly to disseminate peace and security and stability in Syria that require great help and effort, and taking out the arms from the armed factions and to be in the control of the Syrian state and army. And the eastern Syria should be under the control of the state. Otherwise, if those who are gathering, who is going to gather in Syria within the national dialogue, if the constitution should be having consensus with castled or to be agreed upon without surrendering the arms of the eastern area that is the third of the Syrian territories. So we are needed to unite a unity of geography and security and safety. And then one of the reasons that the national dialogue was postponed is just the others to accept the idea, but in conscience within Syria and abroad, they all agreed upon this national dialogue should be in place and present all the Syrian factions. We're talking about more than 17 of Syrian components and 20 political currents and parties. All this should be included in order to convene a good picture of Syria, of the peaceful tolerance with under the umbrella that Syria is above all.
Dr. Qusay, how might you think with the lifting of the Western sanctions play a role in Syria's recovery?
I think that lifting sanctions from Syria that suffered for more than 13 years, it would contribute in the issue of reconstruction, firstly, and to reoperate the manufacturers of the production engine, and then will manage Syria to export, and then that will improve the economic situation, and the Syrian lira will maintain its value vis-a-vis of the US dollar and make a solution of the unemployment. And as a whole, I think that the economic sanctions and to be lifted, it will be an excellent move in the path of the regaining of the economy engine that compared to the period before 2011. This is an excellent step, and also we are in dire need of the following step, which is the disarmament of the armed factions and the withdrawal of the foreign forces that are in Syria.
Sir, what do you think is the role of the international actors like the EU and the US? Are they actually playing in Syria's stabilization and reconstruction efforts?
I think that the Syrian geography is having a great opportunity for investment. If we're talking about the oil wells and tourism in Syria, so it is very fruitful for the investment. So there is a Western desire for the foreign business to enter project in Syria, but this would require security in order for the foreign capital to have freely entering Syria. And I think for the interest of Europe and the Arab countries to be recovered, as Syria politically and geographically has a great importance and significance regionally and internationally. Syria has a great resources within the territories throughout the scientists and medical teams and consultants. All this would be contributed and should be invested in different fields. Therefore, the desire is there in Europe and the Arab countries to regain the stability in Syria and security. As we've mentioned, we may need some time for the Benaut government headed by Mr. al-Bashir to take successive steps. The Syrian citizens cannot feel it right now, but maybe within months or two, the Syrian citizens will notice this progress positively. We'll talk about the destruction of the infrastructure, the siege that was very harsh, the bitter economic situation. We are starting from point zero. So we need sometimes to pave the way for investment and the appropriate ground for initiatives from the countries. And there are good initiatives, kind initiatives from Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and we're talking about an initiative from Turkey and Qatar. All these countries in pursuit to achieve these interests. And interests aren't in bad...
Thank you so much, and that was the writer and political analyst Dr. Qusay Abido. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and for your insights. And now we're back to you again, Mark.
Thank you very much, Selma. Thank you indeed. Now we move on to the latest developments in Gaza. Israel has dispatched a senior delegation to Doha to advance negotiations on a potential ceasefire and detainee exchange deal with Hamas in Gaza. According to the statement from the Israeli Prime Minister's office, the move followed a situational assessment conducted by Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday evening. The meeting included Defense Minister Israel Katz and US negotiators from both the outgoing and incoming administrations. Israeli airstrikes have killed and injured several Palestinians in Gaza City and the town of Jabalia. Palestinian media reported that Israeli fighter jets bombed the Al-Mukbarat area in northwest Gaza City, resulting in the deaths of 2 Palestinians. In a separate attack, an Israeli drone strike targeted a gathering in Jabalia in the northern Gaza Strip, escalating tensions in the region. Health authorities in Gaza have reported that the Palestinian death toll from Israeli attacks since October 7, 2023 has exceeded 46,500, with more than 109,600 individuals injured. In the past 24 hours, Israeli forces carried out 2 massacres targeting families in the Gaza Strip, killing at least 24 Palestinians and injuring 89 others. The ongoing violence continues to exacerbate the humanitarian crisis in the region. Now let's get the latest developments in Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
الوضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
The Israeli occupation military has demolished 5 residential homes in the village of Aita el-Shab, located in southern Lebanon. Lebanese media reported that Israeli forces planted explosives in at least 5 homes in the Bin Jabil district before detonating them. Also, sweeping operations were conducted using heavy and medium machine guns targeting the towns of Marun al-Ras and Yarun. These actions constitute a clear violation of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon, which has been in effect since November 27th last year. The Lebanese President Joseph Aoun received a phone call from Syria's military operations chief Ahmed al-Shara, who congratulated him on his election and wished him success in his new role. The conversation with both leaders underscored the importance of strengthening ties between Syria and Lebanon and fostering cooperation to advance the shared interests of the 2 neighboring countries. Members of the Lebanese parliament have emphasized the importance of defining the role of Prime Minister in alignment with President Joseph Aoun's vision following his election. In an interview with Lebanese media, MP Ibrahim Mounimneh stated that intensive communications are ongoing and will require time. He also expressed his readiness to assume the role of Prime Minister. Meanwhile, MP Qassem Hashem indicated his support for naming Najib Mikati as Prime Minister, saying that the choice aligns with President Aoun's principles and priorities. Iran now, and the French Foreign Ministry has summoned Iran's ambassador to address the detention of French citizens held as detainees in Iran. In a statement, the ministry described the detainees' conditions as intolerable and degrading, saying that they amount to torture under international law. France reiterated its warning for citizens to avoid traveling to Iran, citing ongoing concerns about safety and human rights violations. In the United States, the Los Angeles Fire Department has issued a new immediate evacuation order for the Palisades fire. Fire officials are responding to at least 6 fires in the region, including the Archer, Eaton, Hearst, Kenneth, Lydia, and the Palisades fires. They have spread to roughly 37,579 acres combined. So far, at least 11 people have died, with officials warning the true toll won't be clear until it's safe for investigators to go into the neighborhoods. More than 100,000 people are under evacuation orders. That's almost all we have time for, but here's what we've been covering. The International Ministerial Meeting on Syria kicks off in Riyadh. Israel sends a senior delegation to Doha for ceasefire and detainee talks. And the Israeli military demolishes homes in southern Lebanon, violating the November ceasefire agreement. And that's the news for this hour. Don't forget you can follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. at Qnews EGY. Thanks for watching.